welcome to David's Remembrance Tea. And I want to say welcome, friends and family, but actually, I should say welcome, pilgrims, because we are all pilgrims. We are on a pilgrimage. And the question is, do we know our destination? Yeah. And do we have a GPS? One that doesn't give a false reading. And that is basically the message which I have for today. This morning I thought of Geoffrey Chaucer, revered as the father of the English language. And he wrote the Canterbury Tales. And it's a collection of tales taken from pilgrims, which were on this pilgrimage from London to Canterbury to the shrine of Thomas Becket. Now, Thomas Becket was the Archbishop of Canterbury, but he fell foul of King Henry II. And the end of the story is he was martyred. And they had these pilgrimages to Canterbury quite regularly, but they had to travel in convoy because of the highwaymen. And they were a motley lot. There was the miller, who was very, very foul mouthed. There was the friar, who was a skurk, skelm, wat's die Engels daarvoor? He was just evil. He was just evil. And then there is the nun, a very pious lady. And the nun's tale is about a cockerel with very beautiful feathers, but he fell to flattery. And the wolf came and told him, "Oh, you've got beautiful feathers, and you can sing even better than your father. Would you like to sing to me?" And in the end, of course, he did not lose his life. He regained his moral compass just in time. And he lived to have a happy life among the other hens. So, what I'm trying to say is our fellow pilgrims are a motley lot. And yeah, do they interfere with our compass? And what compass do we have? And our destination, do we know our destination? Do we know how to get there? At this point, I would like to extend my profound gratitude to the Bedford and the Powell family. They raised, loved, excuse me, and formed David into the gentleman that he became. My thanks to Ian and Sheila, that's his brother and sister-in-law, for looking after him while he resided in the UK, and for the help which they are extending to me now with a current affairs. And the reason why they're doing that is they speak English. I speak funny. So the Brits don't understand me. Okay, goeiemôre vriende. Nou kan ek weer 'n bietjie Afrikaans praat. Ek wil julle net bedank dat julle hier is. Dankie aan familie en aan vriende. Dankie dat julle vir ek en Dave so bygestaan het hierdie afgelope paar jaar. Bygestaan het in gebed, bygestaan het met raad en daad en sommer net ons arms regop gehou het. Julle is waardevolle vriende en ek sê 'n oneindige groot dankie aan julle. My waardering ook aan die Sally Martin verpleeg- en versorgingspersoneel. Hulle het Dave met sagte hande hanteer. Dit was nie altyd maklik nie, maar hulle het hulle pragtig van hulle saak gekwyt. My dank ook aan Afpop vir hulle baie pyk diens. En hier wil ek graag vir Rindy en Jacques uitsonder. Hulle is absolute professionele mense. En hulle hanteer hulle kliënte met absolute groot deernis. En Amanda, sy het nou gevlug. Baie dankie Amanda vir hierdie mooi dag en hierdie venue wat jy geskep het. Amanda is iemand wat altyd die tweede en die derde en die vierde myl stap. Daar is geen einde aan haar nie. En sy het die ou man vreeslik bederf met lemon meringues en met malva puddingkies. En hy het dit so geniet om hiernatoe te kom. Dit was vir hom 'n outing om hiernatoe te kom. Ja, en die twee het nogal 'n soort gelyke humor toe hy nog humor gehad het. Nou wat ek nou gaan doen is ek gaan net 'n tribute doen aan Dave en dan op die einde gaan ek vra dat ons net 'n minuut se stilte in eerbied aan Dave dedicate. As jy kan staan, sal dit gaaf wees. Andersins remain seated. En dan sal Neelie oorneem en dan doen ons die geloofsbelijdenis in Afrikaans. En dan die slotgebed is nie 'n gebed nie, dis 'n gesang in Wallis, gevolg deur die Walliese volkslied, want hy was in sy hart 'n Walliser. Allow me to pay a short tribute to David. He was raised in Chester, the UK, and on the little pamphlet which you have on the inside spread, there is a picture of Chester, the city centre. That's where he grew up. It's a beautiful place. Okay, he graduated as an electrical engineer, where he worked as such in the UK until the wanderlust got the better of him, and he responded to an advertisement placed by Eskom, and he landed in Witbank, and that's where we met as well. But the very first day he walked into his office, he found out that his immediate boss is a flying instructor. So the first thing he did was get himself flying lessons. And under the tutelage of this gentleman, he acquired his private pilot's license. And that was quite an achievement. He was very, very proud of it. And even in his last days, when the small aircraft fly over Paris, he would wistfully just look up and smile. So that was his, I was going to say his first love, but I hope I was his first love. But on the front page, there's a little picture of an aircraft, things which he loved and enjoyed. And then eventually the time came for him to move on, and he took a job at Sasol, and he stayed there for many, many years. But from there he moved on to consultancy. In the mid 80s, he spread his wings and he went to the Middle East. He went to God-forsaken places like Saudi, like Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, Oman, the Sudan. All these places were barren in those days. There were no high rise things. And it was a place of sand, more flies, and more sand. Not very pleasant, but yeah. And then the welcome release came for him. He applied and got a job as a consultant, and he was stationed in Scotland and worked in the Highlands. That was good. Maar toe vrek hy weer van die koue. Ja. He took several retirements, but during one of these retirements, he purchased a barely seaworthy boat, a Seamaster, and he refurbished that thing. He rebuilt it completely, and he did such a good job. In the process, he messed up my sister-in-law's Husqvarna sewing machine, but that was nothing. And yeah, he got quite a lot of praise for when eventually this boat was sold. And I was privileged to live on the boat with him. The boat was not on the sea. Most of the times it was in the dry docks because he was working there. And Scotland is known for its gales. So that wasn't very pleasant, but we got through it. Humor takes you through everything. Then he finally retired to Paris in 2019. And after several and consecutive health setbacks, he just did not have the strength to pick himself up again. Right up to the end, he had the strength in his hands that could break your arm, but that was not enough to take him through. And Alzheimer's finally got to him, it destroyed him. But in his brighter moments, he would still tap out Morse code. He would still extensively quote passages from Macbeth to me, stuff which I had forgotten, but somewhere in the back of that brain it was still there. But this was his attempt, his final attempt to rescue what was left of his mind. During this time as well, if you walked in and asked him how he was, he never complained. He would always say, "Oh, all the better for seeing you." Yeah, so that was nice of him. But his last years um, were particularly difficult. But he who rebuked the winds at the Sea of Galilee and stilled the seas, the waters, and asked these disciples, have you got no faith? Are you afraid? He pulled us through all this. And admittedly, we were afraid at times. And at times, we had very, very little faith. But we were pulled through by the one who stills the waters and tells, rebukes the wind. Okay. But David had several names. In the family, he was known as David, Afrikaans, David, because my mother refused to speak English. Not that she could. So she changed him to David. And we called him David. He was also known as Engelsman, to which he would smile. Leon gave him the name Engelsman, and he would respond to that. I'm sure if Leon called him Dave or something like that, or even David, he wouldn't respond. For me, he was Dai, D-A-I, Dai. That is the Welsh version of David. And of course, I called him Pa, and I called him Liffey, but David was a very stubborn, big-headed guy sometimes. And that was when I, yeah, called him Thunder and Lightning. I used weather terms to refer to him, to which he would say, ach man, jy weet, ek is 'n nice bliksem. Yeah, and the whole situation was just diffused. Then, uh, when he worked at Bossiespruit at Sasolburg, he was known as Mallory. And that was a Sotho nickname given to him because it's derived from his surname and because they used Bedford lorries to convey the laborers to the mines. So they just called him Mallory. Everyone knew who Mallory was. Then he went to the Middle East. And in the Middle East, he was, by the Arabs, he was known as Bin Salmon. Bin means the son of, so the son of King Solomon. And the Indian laborers just called him Dawood, the Indian version of David, Dawood. At the Vryelker, he became Oupa Bedford in the end. However, that is not the final name. For now, he has a name only known to him by which he is called to a higher order. For it is promised in Revelations chapter 2, verse 17, that to the one who is victorious, I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give him a white stone with a new name written on the stone that no one knows except the one who receives it. It's a wonderful promise and consolation to know that our names are to be written in stone, even though we are not Egyptians. We are engraved somewhere by a name which is only known to us and to our Creator. That's a wonderful consolation. Therefore, we do not mourn as unbelievers, as we know that the suffering endured in this life pales in comparison to the glory of an everlasting life with a new name and with a resurrected, glorified body. And it's a promise, for Christ says, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he die, shall not perish, and whoever lives and believes in me shall not die eternally. So that's how we have to set our compass as well. May I ask that we show our respect to David with a 1 minute silence, please.